my name's Amata, and in this Red Gaming Tech video I have some sales stuff. If you haven't watched my other video, do just know that I am fairly unwell at the moment, but unfortunately so is Paul, and the show must go on, so do bear with me as I'm not on top of my game today. But however, we have some bits from Sony, and to sprinkle a little bit of the AAA indie in there, we've got Hellblade as well. Let's start with Sony, however, as they've released their financial results for the second quarter of the 2017 fiscal year. And these are for the dates between July the 1st and September 30th, and unsurprisingly, these figures are looking pretty healthy, and the PS4's lifetime sales continue to be rather impressive. So in this particular fiscal quarter, Sony shipped 4.2 million PS4 consoles to retailers, and last quarter they shipped 3.3 million, so that is a rather impressive increase. And of course, if you add these on to the already shipped total, we have 67.5 million PS4 consoles shipped up to this point, which is pretty crazy, as I'm sure you would agree. Unsurprisingly, Sony has increased their estimated PS4 shipments for this fiscal year in full, and they're going to be raising it by another million to a total of 19 million. However, the strong sales are not only within the hardware segment. The entire video game segment of Sony is doing rather well, and you can find a link to the full report below. Excuse me. We are getting quite a few trick-or-treaters, and the dog, who has apparently never heard the door go before, is just going crazy, so I do apologise for that. However, you'll find a link to Sony's full report in the description below, and you'll see that it says that the entire gaming and network services segment of their business were up 35.4% compared to the same period last year, a total of 433.2 billion yen. Obviously this includes stuff like software and accessories and that sort of thing, but Sony are unsurprisingly attributing a lot of these to the software sales, including those done through PSN, as of course they naturally take a bigger cut of that. They don't have to pay the retailers, shipping costs, that sort of thing. And also, they are also being looked after by some favourable exchange rates, whose currency is the fairly strong Japanese yen, that being Sony of course. So yeah, Sony, unsurprisingly, is doing really, really well. However, it's not just confined to the video game stuff. Even the Sony Pictures business, which is a bit of a rough time as of late, is doing well. And that in itself had a pretty strong quarter, and thanks to the performance of the rather wonderful Spider-Man Homecoming. Also, we've seen great gains in the visual media and platform division, and this is mostly thanks to a game by the name of Fate Grand Order, which is a popular mobile game in Japan. So basically, we're not just seeing like, yay, gaming, and boo, everything else. Gaming is obviously like, you know, the light in the bushel here, but everything else is still doing really well. So Sony as a company, big thumbs up, I guess. And whether or not that continues after the Xbox One X releases in terms of the video game success, well, we'll have to see. As I've said many times, the hardware is great, but you need the games to back it up, so I think that's what's really going to come down to when it comes to the battle between Microsoft and Sony. With that out of the way, however, let's move on to Hellblade, which I used as a really good example of what can be done on a smaller budget in comparison to AAA games in my look at the AAA gaming industry's budget problem. Do check out that video if you haven't seen it. But obviously it was a risk for Ninja Theory, but it's actually working out so far for them. They've used a lot of their own money to create this game, and obviously it's digital only as well. And according to the creative director Tamim Antoniades, it has been a success. There's a rather lengthy post-mortem on GamesBeat, which of course I will link below. And they did say that they are going to be releasing a developer diary to talk about sales numbers, costs, and other details in the hopes that we can see more games produced in this fashion. And I hope so, because again, like, this game being as wonderful as it is, has been a real show that, look, you don't need $1 billion to make a really nice looking game. So, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing that and getting really stuck into the figures there. But for now, all we need to know is that it's done better than their expectations. It's almost broken even, and it's about to break even in the next couple of weeks. So given that the game came out a few months ago, this is actually really good. And obviously, as it continues to sell, and, you know, maybe even goes on sale in the future and that sort of thing, and the game gets more attention, blah blah blah, I have a feeling that this game is going to do pretty well. I mean, it's not going to be like, you know, a 5 million sales blockbuster hit, but I don't really think they expected that from a game, especially one that deals with such a taboo topic of mental health issues. And obviously the gameplay is rather divisive, to say the least, with some, you know, lots of slow periods, that sort of thing. And then lots of action in between. It is a very unique game in a lot of ways, so I don't think they're really they're expected rather, to, you know, be selling 10 million copies or anything like that. So I'm glad to hear that this game has done well and that their gamble has paid off, because obviously if it didn't, then, you know, this would be pretty much the end of the AAA indie, as it's been called. So I'm really pleased to see, not only because it's a really good game and deserves success, but I would just love to see more projects done in this particular way. Especially when you consider that they weren't actually expecting to break even for, you know, 9 months into the game, or into the game's lifespan. So the fact that they're almost broken even already is a sign that this game is definitely worth your time. And if you haven't played it, I would highly recommend it. It is most likely going to my Game of the Year list video. Bit of a spoiler there, but I don't think anyone's really surprised by that, are you? Anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.